Beautiful Monday morning here in Accra. Good morning to you and welcome to GH Today here on GH1 Television. It's the day after Father's Day, the day after a lot of fathers. Some smiled, some wept, and some were left disappointed. In fact, the post by President John Dramani Mahama comparing the bouquet he received to what his wife received on Mother's Day, it tells you clearly we have a lot to do when it comes to honoring our fathers in this country and even beyond. And so good morning to you. Welcome to our show. We are live on Facebook, live on X, and also live on YouTube. And you can follow us with the handle at GH1TV. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. And from now to 10 a.m. we are live on your screens, bringing you nothing but the best in conversations. Have you heard that indeed some charcoal that was supposed to leave Accra for Australia ended up infused with some meth? Over $200 million worth of meth were found in a container that is supposed to carry charcoal. And I thought we had the conversation on not cutting down our trees to burn for the use as charcoal. Well, we are exporting, and people have also found their way to put some meth in there. We'll talk about that. And also the raging issue surrounding Apostle Dr. Kodjo Kantanka, the late, and what we were told yesterday happened at the premises of the church. Quite an unfortunate incident. Now, the reports are endless. Extreme angles, so many angles to this particular story, but we'll try to make sense of that later on in the show, because the police have indeed made some arrests. Some 6 persons have been arrested, and some weapons have been confiscated, pump action guns, pistols, and a lot more. We'll talk media. Remember today. Now let's start this morning with Kodjo today. Mutala Yunusa is here. Mutala Kwenote Inusa has joined me. Mutala, good morning.
Good morning, Joshua Kodjo Mensah.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm well. Happy Father's Day to you.
Belated Happy Father's Day to you.
Yeah.
They didn't give us anything, but we'll give ourselves something. So I'm wishing you.
They are watching us this morning as well. But they didn't do that.
A lot of the time, I have something for you. When it's Mother's Day, they don't say that. They have forgotten.
Anyways.
It is what
fathers also deserve pampering. We deserve pampering. You need to pamper us, but it's all good. Well, Kwenote, your weekend was good.
Yes, it was cool. It was very calm, but of course, a lot of rain, the rain.
Yeah, yesterday the rain took over the entire day.
I'll tell you what. But
anyways, let's go to court.
Yes, we'll take you to court, sir. But what am I discussing with you? You're still in the Black Stars camp, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So once in the Black Stars camp, I know you don't like football that much, but there are people who love football so much, such that it means so much to them. It is one that you cannot always ignore. Source of entertainment, the passion of the nation and all of that. And we saw that from the very first time when the Black Stars played against Panama and we had that 1-0 victory. The director, pause here for me and let me do some exercise here. So you've seen this picture, right?
Yes.
Who is this one?
Kurt
Okreku?
Yeah.
Okay. And who is this?
Mama Jane.
The vice president. And this one?
Oh, Bafoboni. Kodjo. Okay. You know it's Monday born. I like that.
It's a Monday born.
Yeah, it's a Monday born.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, Kodjo Bafoboni.
What about the last? I swear, father, myself, I don't know who the person is. So the focus this morning is on the man that you identified as Kodjo.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And why am I even describing him in this video? So with this picture that we are seeing here, gives that indication that the Chief Justice is in Canada, right? Mm-hmm. And that is where the Ghana played their very first match. When the picture was out there, and there are videos also attached, there's been so much controversy about what the Chief Justice is doing in the Black Stars camp, whether he's one of the supporters, whether he's one of the management committee members. What exactly is the Chief Justice? He's supposed to sit home and ensure that justice is delivered. He's supposed to ensure that cases at the have raised so many questions, so much question, even to the extent that there is a petition that has been sent, Miracle and its team, as the controversy. So last Friday, the Judicial Service has come out with a press statement, and Director, let's look at that press statement, clarifying the circumstances with which the Chief Justice is in Canada. And the clarity is the effect that the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Justice Paul Bafuboni, as the law establishes, it's in Canada for a reason. But what is the reason that he's in Canada? So let me walk you through the statement so that you understand whether indeed there is a reason why the Chief Justice is in Canada. So the statement is press release and for immediate release, of course. And this is the Judicial Service clarifies circumstances surrounding Chief Justice visit to Black Stars camp in Canada. And this was issued on the 19th of June. That's Friday, 2026. And it states that the Judicial Service has taken note of public commentary and media discussions following the circulation of photographs showing His Lordship, Justice Paul Bafuboni, Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, during the visit to the camp of Ghana's senior national team, the Black Stars, in Canada. While public interest in the matter concerning holders of high public office is understandable and forms an important aspect of democratic accountability, it is necessary to place the facts surrounding the matter in their proper context. So what is that proper context that the Judicial Service wants us to know? The Chief Justice is currently on official vacation. So that's the first point. Justice Paul Bafuboni currently is on vacation. So that is the first one that the Judicial Service is establishing. His trip to Canada was undertaken in his private capacity and entirely at his own expense. So the Chief Justice in Canada at his own private expense. He went there privately. The trip, everything is being funded from his own pocket. That is what the Judicial Service is saying. So during his stay, and as a patriotic Ghanaian, and note that the Chief Justice is a staunch fan of Liverpool. He supports Liverpool. At some point in the last season, he gave a very nice scenario about Arsenal, and with the Arsenal fan, I thought that our celebration was enough to give him a reply to that. During his stay, and as a patriotic Ghanaian and keen sports enthusiast, the Chief Justice took the opportunity to visit the camp of the Black Stars to offer words of encouragement and support as they participate in the ongoing FIFA World Cup. And tomorrow, the Black Stars will be playing. And one of the reasons the Judicial Service is saying the Chief Justice went there is to offer words of encouragement and support to the team. The visit was motivated solely by a desire to support the national team and should be viewed in that light. That is what the Judicial Service is saying, that it is because of the support that he has, his desire to support the national team. That is the sole reason why he visited the Black Stars camp. So that is the light in which you should see it. Photographs taken during the visit have, however, generated commentary and speculations that do not accurately reflect the circumstances under which they were taken. The Judicial Service wishes to emphasize that judicial independence does not require judges to withdraw entirely from society or cause to participate in ordinary aspects of national life. Judges remain citizens of the Republic and members of the community. So that is, let's look at the other one. That's what the Judicial Service is saying. So they say, what the Constitution requires of judges is independence of mind, fidelity to the law, and impartiality in the discharge of their judicial function. These are the principles that guides the conduct of the Chief Justice and judicial officers. In every democratic society, persons occupying different constitutional offices would inevitably encounter one another in both official and non-official settings. The mere fact that of such encounters cannot, without more, reasonably be construed as evidence of partnership, bias, or political affiliation. So they are saying that once he is there, you know that it will always be linked with the government in power, and the NDC is in power now. So they are saying that the fact that the Chief Justice is with the Black Stars has nothing to do with his fidelity to the law, nothing to do with the independence of his mind, and of course, showing impartiality in relation to all that is happening. Then he went on to say that the Chief Justice remains fully committed to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the independence of the judiciary, and the fair and impartial administration of justice to all persons, irrespective of political persuasion, social status, and personal background. The Judicial Service further notes that national institutions and symbols often serve unite rather than divide us. The Black Stars continue to represent the hopes and aspirations of all Ghanaians. Supporting the national team should not be misconstrued as compromising the impartiality or independence of any constitutional office holder. The Judicial Service therefore respectfully urges the public to view the matter in proper context and to disregard unfounded suggestions that seek to attribute meanings and motives to what was, in essence, an ordinary and patriotic gesture of support for Ghana's national team. And the Judicial Service remains steadfast in its commitment to preserving public confidence in the judiciary through the continued discharge of its constitutional mandate with independence, integrity, impartiality, and fidelity to the rule of law. And this is from the communication department of the Judicial Service, clarifying the matter or the circumstances with which Chief Justice Paul Bafumoni finds himself in Canada, and more especially also in the camp of the Black Stars. And so that is the clarity that the Judicial Service is bringing to this particular matter. And tomorrow, the Black Stars have a match, right?
Absolutely,
so
yes.
See what will happen
against England.
Against England. And I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians are scared by that. But I tell you what, it's a simple game for Ghana. That's one of the simplest games we will play this season. Okay. Yes.
Prophet Mutala has given his...
Yes, my verdict.
Very simple.
It's a simple game for
We'll tell you we'll just get 3 points and
that's all.
Move
it's
on.
A simple game.
Okay, but away from football, let's come to the law courts and what we are supposed to expect this week. In fact, today.
Yes. Right. National Signals Bureau, 49.1 million Ghana cedi. The trial is ongoing. Today, the expectation is that we're going to have the very last of the prosecution witness begin testimony. The investigator is mounting the witness box. Once the investigator mounts the witness box, then it means he's also to tell the court the kind of findings his investigations have uncovered, what role he played, what is discovered, what his investigations revealed, and all of that. So based on that, in relation to the specific charges against the accused person, he will be in court to give an account on that. And once that is done, we'll see the lawyers of the accused person also take him on by way of cross-examination. So that is one of the things that we are expecting today in the Kobina Edibuayin case. The fourth and the last prosecution witness, which the investigator is testifying. Of course, Samuel Atacha is the lead lawyer for the accused persons, and Deputy Attorney General Dr. Mensah on your screens right now is the prosecution. Yes, Deputy is the one leading the prosecution in this case. So this is what we should, one of the things that we should expect today.
Okay, what else?
Yes, Gift Your Worry. Also, the second, in respect of this trial, the National Service Ghost name, where she's alleged to have put together some non-existent names to secure loans from ADB, is also back in court. And the reason she's back in court today is that at the last court sitting, the prosecution or her lawyers concluded the cross-examination of the first prosecution witness. So today the expectation is that the second prosecution witness would be mounting the witness box to also testify. So we'll bring you more updates in relation to what will come up in court today. And the last one, Charles BCU, OSP. So somebody who asked, why are we still talking about this case? So this is a corruption and corruption-related charges. But we do know that the mandate of the OSP to prosecute is under scrutiny. The Supreme Court have judgment to deliver on 29th of June. This case is before the court. So today, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is moving a motion asking the High Court to stay proceeding, to stay the trial until the determination of that particular matter at the Supreme Court to know whether the OSP is right prosecuting people or the decision of the High Court to say that the Attorney General to take over all the pending cases until it gives its authorization to the office to prosecute cases come to the fore. So today, we will be at the court and see what Justice Audrey Kokuwite will order by way of this particular motion for stay of proceeding from the OSP will be like. So these are some of the cases that we should be keeping an eye on, Joshua.
Thank you so much for bringing us updates on what to expect in court. And so we'll keep an eye on those ones for you. But now we'll take a breather. We'll return my guest already. We'll get into the conversations for you this morning. Well, quite a number of issues to discuss this morning, and I've been joined by the head of corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Delali Sewokbo, who is no stranger to the show, and he's here with a former deputy CEO of the PPA, and he's also a national organizer aspirant for the New Patriotic Party, Kwame Eprempe. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to have you here, Kwame.
Thank you.
I hope you had a good weekend.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Okay.
By God's grace.
By God's grace. Delali, how's it been?
We are doing. We are managing. Everything is fine.
Right.
We are basically on course. To deliver the reset agenda. So,
right.
So far so good.
Okay.
I didn't know my brother is contesting to become the national organizer of the NP. But I think he has what it takes to.
Yeah.
To steer the organizational department of the New Patriotic Party. I think people like that should be considered.
Absolutely. Kwame, that's a feather in your cap.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But before we get into the conversations, tomorrow we're playing England. What are your expectations of the Black Stars, Kwame?
Well, first of all, let me say a good morning to your cherished viewers and everybody here in the studio and my co-panelists. And also bring warm greetings from His Excellency, the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to all Ghanaians. This one is a dicey one, easy. It's a very difficult game. Let's be honest with ourselves. I mean, we were lucky to have won. I believe we were going to win against Panama. It was more difficult than I thought. Because, of course, looking into the, experience of Panama in the World Cup, the fact that they had not had any point, the fact that they had 11 against them and only 2 goals, and one of the goals was even an own goal from Tunisia, I believe. But if you look further, before the World Cup, they did very well in their qualifications. So somehow they had improved, right? But still, I had believed in Ghana that we will win. I thought we were going to win not less than 2 goals. But in the end, we won. 3 points is 3 points. If we shift to England, if you look at the players of England, I saw what our coach was trying to do with Panama, though it wasn't clicking very well. But he was trying to organize the team, get them to pass the ball. Unfortunately, we couldn't pass more than 5. We couldn't get more than 4 passes, at a go. So I think we will improve against England. But my fear against England is the quality that they have. The quality of players. Players that can make a difference, regardless of the system they are playing in. As individual players, they can change a game.
Yeah.
And that is where the fear comes in. So I'm hoping we don't lose. And if we must lose, I'm hoping it will be very marginal. But a win, that one, I didn't.
Someone was saying that unless we get a Malam goal somewhere.
I didn't a win party. Unless there is something strange happens.
Okay.
But let's be hopeful.
Absolutely.
Let's be hopeful.
Delali.
And once again, good morning to your cherished viewers who are watching us this morning. Good morning to my brother as well. Ghana against England.
Yeah.
For me, I think prior to the World Cup, if there's one particular team that I am so certain and sure that the Black Stars is capable of beating, honestly speaking, is the English team. Why am I saying so? I think if you compare the natural talents between the players that we have in the national team relative to what the English are having, you think Ghanaians are naturally gifted. I think what we're basically lacking in the past has to do with the technical acumen that the coach brings to bear. And once you have all these things in place and you are able to conscientize the players, first of all, let the players know that, listen, the players that you are playing against, the players from the England national team are not different from you. These are players that you've been playing with in the EPL. And for that matter, you need to be psychologically and mentally strong.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to overcome the British. I mean, one of the strengths of the English national team is the fact that they are very good when it comes to set pieces. So, for instance, you have somebody like Harry Kane, who is very good when it comes to set pieces. If you do analysis or statistics about most of the goals that he has scored, it's come from set pieces.
Yeah.
So it's basically about our defenders, demonstrating that indeed he'll be able to, mark him very well so that he doesn't have that opportunity to take advantage of set pieces. And what is more important is when I watched the Panama game, you see, I appreciate the fact that a lot of Ghanaians prior to the World Cup, if you listen to all the pundits, the football connoisseurs and what have you, I mean, they keep on making statements to the effect that the only team that is beatable so easily in our team was the Panama.
Yeah.
And for that matter, the expectation playing against them was so high. And that expectation could have a lot of influence even on the team. And if you noticed, I mean, a coach, I mean, we changed a coach just about a month prior to the election. I mean, new players have been introduced into the national team. They are not trying to find their rhythm, the telepathy, how they'll be able to, you know, in terms of flow of passes and what have you. But one thing I like about this coach is what I call his tactical variation. So if you watch the ball very well, it was even at the point that you notice that we're struggling when it comes to the flanks.
Yeah.
So what he did was to basically bring in Fatal, who is very skillful, who is a speedster, and he was able to bring a certain level of assertiveness. And now eventually he brought in Thomas Brandon, I mean, to come and augment the attacking, what you call midfield of the national team. I believe that what is at stake is more than just a World Cup. I mean, where they're coming into play with someone like Thomas Partey, I mean, who is obviously geared up for this particular match in question, owing to some of the things he believed that he's not been treated well and what have you not. I think he's going to go all out for this particular match. When you have Partey, the new kid on the block, Yorenchi, I mean, partnering in midfield. And obviously, I know a lot of people have been complaining about Jordan Ayew, but I think they have to look at the technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
His ability to hold on to the ball. Once you hold on to the ball, what it does is it has a certain effect on your opponent. And so I think that the whole nation, one thing I love about this, what is happening is how the entire country is rallying behind the national team. I mean, in itself becomes a certain level of booster. It encourages and it inspires them that indeed once the entire country is behind you, they have to play and redeem the hope and the confidence and the trust that we are reposing on the team. But I have every strong belief that come Tuesday, roughly by 10 o'clock p.m., Ghanaians once again will be smiling. And we just pray and hope that this time around the soloku on the streets will be minimized, because eventually it becoming more often than not, anytime Ghana win a major match in a particular tournament, we end up, I mean, having a casualty. I mean, we can celebrate. I mean, the excitement.
Moderation.
Absolutely, it should be in moderation.
Absolutely.
And I'm praying for the national team, and I know that we'll do one.
Your hope is that by 10 p.m.
Exactly,
you should be excited.
Exactly, and one thing that is becoming pretty obvious in this particular tournament has to do with the performance of the African team. I mean, this dawn I watched the match between Egypt and New Zealand. I mean, 3-1. Cape Verde, I mean, the debutants, and you see the kind of display. I mean, playing against a team like, what's the name? Uruguay.
Yeah.
I mean, and they held their own against the Spanish national team, who is more or less like the pre-tournament favorite and whatever. So I think we'll do well. We'll do well.
Well, okay, so we wish the Black Stars all the best, and like Dalali said, even though Kwame is cautiously optimistic.
I'm just being true to the reality.
Yeah.
We can dream, but still have the reality in the back of our mind.
Well, Dalali says by 10 p.m. we should be excited as a country, and I'm looking forward to that, so that I can come to work the next day happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all like that.
But talking about our image on the international scene, and I want to start with you, Kwame. We saw reports that, well, charcoal some way, somehow, has been infused with meth somewhere. So there is meth in charcoal that is moving from Ghana all the way to Australia. Quite a worrying situation. And now the conversation has started as to why we are even exporting charcoal in the first place. Because we thought we were putting in place mechanisms to stop the felling of trees, burning to become charcoal. And now we're exporting. And this is the embarrassment, I should say, that has come to us based on this particular one. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to think about the charcoal part. You know, I also didn't think we are still exporting charcoal. And I honestly didn't believe that any, you know, Western world, though Australia is not in the Western part of the world, but considered as part of the first world, you know, is importing charcoal as we speak at this moment. But anyway, regardless of the charcoal, if it wasn't charcoal, it could have been anything else. You know, once people are determined to push things, I think they will find other means, you know. And I think Ghana is, you know, is is appealing, to some of these things is because we export a lot of things in bulk, and these things are easily to hide, in things that are exported in bulk, because the scrutiny that they give to these that are exported in bulk is much less than when you are exporting in small quantities and all that. So we are quite attractive, to the criminal syndicates when it comes to pushing drugs and being a hub, for drugs, and that is where I think we have to wake up. George, for me, the surprise was that apparently they were busted in April. And when you follow the news, article and you read around it, the Australian authorities were trying to track or trace where it came from. To the point that they even allowed the goods to go where it's supposed to go, and then they track and they were able to arrest those that were involved. And apparently they're also trying to track where it came from. But when I read the release by NACOC, it appears as if they found out when the news broke out in Australia. And it seems the Australians were deliberately, not bringing it out because they were still tracking, right? I would have believed that at that time, they should have been in contact with the Ghanaian authorities so that we can track also here where it originated from, behind the scenes. Because now that it's out there, anybody who is involved, as soon as they heard it, they would have run by now. So I think if indeed, as it states in the release by NACOC, that they are now starting to track and trace where it came from, then it's very difficult to apprehend those that are involved. Because if I hear that they have been busted back then, they would have been gone by now. So that was my whole surprise, and the fact that Ghana is in danger of becoming a drug hub is not news. It's not news. I mean, there have been several cases, and I think even last week there was also some arrest in the Kaswa area thereabout. There was a drug kingpin, who was apprehended together with 2 accomplices. So it is not new. And I think even previously, there were also other cases where some drugs were apprehended, also in, I think, Jolu, thereabout. Last year there were also other cases, and if you all remember, Reverend Intim Kodjo, brought this case out last year, and we also saw how the government responded to it, which was very needless, back then. And I hope now, that we have all seen that what the alarm that the Reverend was sounding was credible alarm. And if we had maybe done something about it, seriously about it, we might not have been embarrassed this way. So it's something that I believe that governments should take very seriously, because our image, as you are saying, is very important, in the outside world. And I think usually Ghanaians are seen as peaceful, Ghanaians are seen as law-abiding, Ghanaians are seen as nice people, and we must keep that. It's very important, for us to keep that in terms of international relation. And we shouldn't allow, those seeking their own, interests, to use us, as a conduit. Because if you look at those involved, the biggest chunk of the money will not stay in Ghana. So we are just being used as a conduit, this international drug trade, and we must guard against, our own, and ensure that we are not used, in this certain manner. But this is almost 300, million Australian dollars. I think it was about 320, kilos of meth. This is a huge amount. They should not be able to pass through our ports just like that. And definitely, there will be people involved, at whichever port that it originated from, at whichever documents that had to be made. I won't believe that people did not know, and that somehow, it passed through our ports. I think people knew. Definitely, people would have known, and it shouldn't be the case that we hear in Ghana where we will leave the issue very big. We speak about it in the media and this and that and that. And after a week or two, it goes cold, and then we never hear anything about it. So this one, I will appeal to the media, including GH1. Please follow up this issue for us. Don't let it die, because this is a serious case. It's a serious case. So please, we shouldn't allow this to go cold without having answers as to who was involved and as to how and when it was able to pass through our ports. because it's unbelievable. It's just you just can't phantom it, right? But of course, the Reverend also sounded alarm in terms of our scanners at the port and our exit, the port and airport not being at par with international standards. And then he mentioned that some of the machines have broken down, and then we are trying to purchase. And I think at the time, the Minister of Interior came to Parliament to say that, to confirm that indeed we have challenges with some of these scanners, and there are funding shortages, to replace these machines. I think now the government should make it a priority, ensure that we get the appropriate machines in place, so that we don't get, this scandal, in the future anymore. So these are my initial thoughts, Joshua.
Delali.
So first of all, I've read the statements issued by NACOC in respect to this bastard drug far away in Australia. And in the statement, they've indicated that they currently have commenced an investigation dealing with some internal security agency, as well as dealing with their foreign partners, to establish who were the individuals or the cartel behind this latest bastard drug far away in Australia. I believe this shouldn't be a difficult thing for NACO to be able to unravel. Because first of all, when you are exporting something at the ports, the one who is doing the exportation or the one who is doing exporting obviously have their details. And we should be able to pick these individuals who were captured as the ones who were exporting this supposedly charcoal to Australia. And like my brother alluded to, it's quite a bit baffling that we are talking about the exportation of charcoal to Australia. The question is, this is a country that we are doing everything possible to do away with deforestation. We are rather much embarking on afforestation. We are even cautioning people not to be, bringing down our trees and here and there. And so it baffles me that, under the guise of, a group of people exporting charcoal to Australia, it turn out that indeed this charcoal is a drug, actually. First of all, we have to also establish whether this drug that we are talking about originates from Ghana or it's a transshipment. Or Ghana was basically, like my brother said, was used as a conduit, as a transit point of conveying this drug to Australia. If indeed Ghana was used as a conduit or a transit point in conveying this particular drug to Australia, what he also supposes this cartel or this individual basically see a certain level of weakness in our system. Like my brother alluded to, if there are challenges with respect to scanners, if there are challenges with respect to inadequacy of certain logistics and what have you, that is basically what we have to do. And you see, I've always maintained this argument that people talks about the fact that pollution is localized, but the effect of that pollution is global. Yeah. It's one of the reasons why currently what is happening in Iran, between Iran and the US and Israel, basically is affecting Ghana. It's one of the things that we have to understand, that even as we speak as a country, we are grappling with issues about drug abuse among our youth. Where people have resort to the tramadol, the red and what have you not. And this has basically...
we have a whole national campaign.
Absolutely. And issues like this is a national security issue. Any substance that have the potential to affect the working youths of this country present as a national security issue. I think, like my brother said, this should not be the usual statement that we read from state security agency in respect to a major scandal. And at the end of the day, we don't hear anything about it. We know that records shows that these are the people who were basically responsible in exporting this particular product or this particular, consignment. We have their names, even if they were fronting for people. Once you arrest the individuals who were at the forefront of facilitating the exportation of this substance to Australia, you'll be able to unravel, the big guns or the big guys behind it. Because for me, it's when we talk about reset simply means that we are doing things right. Reset simply means that we are not sweeping arrest that was done in Australia, which we are told that originate from Ghana. We are not sweeping it under the carpet. It doesn't matter who oxes God. Whoever is involved in this despicable act must be brought to book. Because you see, Ghana is touted as the gateway to Africa. We cannot turn a country that is touted as the gateway to Africa to become the gateway of what we call it, using as a means of exporting these substances to Far East Australia. It's also very important that as a country we have to up our game when it comes to how we what do you call it, how we connect to international agencies when it comes to fighting a menace like drug cartel and what have you not. I'm saying this because when I read the statement, like you alluded to yourself, that until the Australian authority made announcement with respect to this arrest, it was obvious that per the statement that I read, NACO was basically in the dark.
I had no idea.
Exactly. For me, it's very important. It also raised the issues about trust. Was it a case that the Australian government was hesitant to share the information with the Ghanaian authority? Because because obviously, if you want to trace the individuals who were behind it, if you want to go after the individuals who were behind the drug, you obviously will speak to the country that it's originating from, so that it will be able to give you another what we call vital information, certain things that is within their purview, so that you'll be able to, based on that, and work as a team to unravel the individuals that are behind it. For me, what is more important, I know President John Dramani Mahama, I know his commitment when it comes to the youth of this country, I know his commitment when it comes to the development of this country, and I know that it doesn't matter the individuals who are behind it. What is important is the Narcotic Control Board must work assiduously to ensure that the individuals or the gangs or the cartel that were behind this are brought to book, so that they will follow the full rigor of the law. Because once you allow this kind of drugs to enter into our system, if it's used, Ghana is used as a transit, obviously what it means is some might even end up into the system or the society, which eventually will endanger the life of our youth, will endanger the life of our siblings, our mothers, and what have you done. So this thing must be dealt with, so that at least never again will Ghana be known as, a place where people can just use in transiting these particular substances to other part of the world.
And it worries me a lot as well, and I'm sure you also share that concern based on your portfolio at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, because I'm thinking from the Australian perspective, why they were not open to alerting us, because if such a consignment, from what we are being told, was able to come through you, unchecked, undetected, make its way to us, then where would the trust factor be? How would I trust you? And what I'm settling on is how rigorous the processes are at the ports to ensure that we're checking things and, putting in place mechanisms to stop these things, because the embarrassment does not fall on maybe an individual or two. We all have to face it as a country, because the country mentioned is Ghana.
So the point is this, that's what I keep on saying. For instance, you made reference to the port. One of the things I keep on telling people is, once people make reference to the port, there are instances people even call you and say, Dalali, I need auction car. Forgetting about the fact that GPH is basically not in charge of auction cars and stuff like that. Somebody even imports a car and say, Dalali, can you just talk to one or two people so that, the import duty will be reduced? But I'm actually not. GPH is not basically in charge when it comes to import duty, it's the GRA. So there's a certain misconception out there that anything that happens within the port space, it's assumed that it has to do with Ghana Port and Harbour Authority. I remember recently there was this research that was conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service, which basically alluded to a couple of things. And we have to just call them and tell them that, once somebody comes to the port and probably even interface with any of the state institutions or agencies, and the person have to go through such an ordeal, an unfortunate ordeal, he assumed that this has to do with Ghana Port and Harbour Authority. Like you said, the Minister for Interior spoke, and he has actually admitted about some of the lapses relative to scanning at the port and what have you. I believe that knowing what is happening now and what actually happened, I believe all measures should be put in place to ensure that, first of all, there will be a robust scanning regime at the port to ensure that, I mean, stuff like that do not escape us. Yeah. But one of the things that is also critical is the fact that you may also want to put all the systems in place. There's also an individual factor. You understand? There's also an individual factor.
That is very key. That's what I was mentioning.
The human interface.
There must have been some people in there.
It's one of the reasons why, if you look at our country as society, anytime there's an introduction of a technology to do away with the human factor, you realize that people become very apprehensive. So the human factor is extremely very important. And you may have all the comprehensive and robust technology. And I always say one thing. You have people who are even businessmen, who even wish that the technology bit is dealt away with so they can deal with the human beings. You understand? So as a country, we also have to come to a point and realize that in embracing technology, there's going to be a certain level of resistance. You remember recently when there was this issue about what they call publican stuff and what that is. I mean, you see, you'll be surprised that even the people that the publican is coming to help, right, to raise the necessary revenue for the country, might even be the one instigating people that challenge this thing. Do you understand? So the human factor, it's a key major factor when it comes to dealing with all these issues confronting us as a country. And I believe that the Minister for Interior, the National Security, the Port Authority, which I'm part of, and the GRA and all the critical stakeholders that are part of all this value change, I mean, we'll come together to ensure that we don't allow things like this to escape our radar.
And Kwame, you had a worry that because of the time frame, now that we are hearing people who were
they were absconded by now. You see, and there is a precedent. I mean, last year, if you already recall, there was a drug bust in Cape Coast, if you recall. And I think it has to do with about 3.3 tons of cocaine, about $190 million, worth of cocaine that was, busted in Cape Coast. And in the end, the big men, those that were the financiers, are nowhere to be found as we speak now. The only people that are standing trial are I think is a truck driver, the warehouse manager. These are the low-level guys. Sometimes they might not even have, proper idea of what is going on. And the people that are really responsible for it are nowhere to be found. And that's my fear, that now that this thing is out and we are now starting the investigation, if anybody involved, who is at a mid-level, high level, will not be sitting there waiting for you to come and, get me. That is the unfortunate thing about this, But I mean, it's early days yet. They've started. Let's see how it will go, and then let's see, who are involved, and then let's bring them.
Because it's quite interesting. Dalali mentions there are documents. There are names on those documents.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely. I mean, this shouldn't take long. Yeah. In terms of identifying the people who brought it, shouldn't take long. But what might take long is, okay, who else is involved? The person who signed, is it really for the person? Was they signing on behalf? There are situations where people will just pay peanuts to people to just, sign some documents for them. There are situation drugs, the people that are carrying the drugs are most of the time just taking peanuts. Of course, for them it might be big money. People who are in deep trouble, and maybe about $5,000 would be a big money for certain people. But we are talking about what, $200 and something million. What is $5,000, right? But for the person carrying it, it might be big money to them, and they will carry it on behalf of those that stand to benefit, from it. But let me point, emphasize on something that Delali said, with regards to the resistance, of technology in Ghana. It is a big problem. And I think we need a lot more sensitization. I mean, back at PPA, when we introduced the Ghana Electronic Procurement System, a lot of pushback. And like Delali said, the people that the system is supposed to make their work easier, they will be the one complaining the most. When we introduced the registration of suppliers, Joshua, we've built a system that you can sit in the comfort of your house and register your company at PPA. But I was getting daily calls. And the funny thing about it, these are not illiterate people. These are people who are, I mean, they are schooled, they are educated. Oh, Kwame, can you get somebody to help me register my company? But this, you can do it in 5 minutes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, our resistance to change, we always want to deal with a person. We always want to do it. I mean, that's why our Goro Boy system has been, kept alive for so long. If you go to DVLA, actually they have the system in place where you don't have to go through anybody. If you want a passport, the system will put in place long time. But because of our, edge to deal with people, we always bring in these, physical people, and that is actually not good for the process. But we need a lot of sensitization moving forward. We need a lot. I
remember for Publican AI, we had to have a full interview on the technology here in the studio with the customs personnel, because they were surprised, people who were at the ports and were not happy about it. And because sometimes, like you said, the Goro system.
Yes,
people have to get something small.
But as for the Pelican, I don't know, maybe the sensitization, the stakeholder engagement. I use the Ganesh as an example. Yeah. When we launched Ganesh back in 2019, right? What we realized that for the first 3 months, nobody touched the system. Nobody, not even do anything in it. So then I realized, when I got to PPA, the system had been done, almost done. The process was already in place. I just have to follow it. But after 3 months, I realized nobody has touched the system. So then I probed further, discussed with the people who are supposed to use it. Then it turns out, the engagement was very poor. Right. The sensitization of the entities was very poor. We had engaged procurement officers, but when you go to procurement, everybody's involved. So we had to devise a whole new training and sensitization where we involve every single person in the entity. It's very key. Because when you get to implementation of technology, I've been doing this for the past 20 years, right? A lot of technology fail, not because of the technology itself, not because of the technical challenges. It's about change management. That is what gets it to fail. Because at the end of the day, if people are using the system, if they don't feel that the system is helping them, supposed to do what they think it should be doing, and you, the developer of the system, think that the system should behave this way, it will fail. Because the user is not feeling what it's supposed to do for the user.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, we have to improve on that, and definitely we have to do more. And the media also have to help, us.
I agree in total, and Dalali also agrees. But we'll take a breather here. When we come back, we'll talk about more issues, because there's been concerns of security. Yesterday, unfortunate news we heard there with regards to Kodjo Kantanka, Adjasafo, former member of parliament, issues there. Arrests have been made, weapons have been seized. We'll talk about that right after this break. Affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. So before we went on that break, we're talking about the meth bars, the bust in Australia. We are told that the origin of that particular consignment was Ghana. And so we are looking forward to see how all of this works going forward. But let's come back and talk, because yesterday we saw police reports about how a former member of parliament for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adrasafo, had allegedly been shot. Her vehicle shot at, and the police arrested 6 people. Now, it's become really murky. The stories are so many as to what might have resulted in that. But then we know that investigations are underway. But what we are told is that there was a ceremony at the church. You know her father, Apostle Dr. Kodjo Kantanka, may he so rest in peace. And so there was a ceremony at the church that allegedly was installing his son as the new leader of the church. Sarah, we are told, wanted access. She was denied access. All of that happened, and then we are told that what happened next was gunshots here and there. She sustained injury. She was rushed to the hospital. The police have made arrests, and then weapons have been seized. Now, Delali, let me come to you, because I've seen the pictures of the weapons, and I'm asking myself, what are these weapons doing in the hands of private security? It raises a lot of questions regarding our security. But for you, what's your thoughts on this issue?
First of all, like you said, I also I saw a flash on the various social media outlets about an alleged shooting or firing at the car that belongs to Honorable Adrasafo, the former MP for Dome Kwabenya. And I saw a picture of her with blood oozing from her nose, and I think from her ears, and I think parts of her head was also, she got injured. I mean, initially I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe it's one of those usual creating a certain panic situation, and people trying to create their own agenda, speculating here and there. But quickly I saw a couple of similar posts or news items on certain various social media platforms. And there are certain individuals that we follow on Facebook or any of the social media outlets. Once they put something, you have no any doubts about the credibility or the validity of the said statement. But what is more important for me is this. I think the parties involved in all this must at least respect the huge personality of their late father. I mean, this is a man who has made a huge impact when it comes to national development. This is a man who has built the church, Christo Asafo, have a lot of prominent members that belong to that church. This is a man throughout his life on earth. I mean, ever since I got to know him, he's a man that embodies peace. He's an embodiment of peace. He's a man, even in spite of the fact that he has even a daughter that belongs to a known political party. I mean, he's a man that it was even difficult for you to associate any of his public utterances or pronouncements to a certain political inclination or political party. But the question I keep on asking myself is this. A huge personality like your dad has passed on. I believe family have had a meeting relative to when they intend to bury him. There's been 1 week.
July, you're told.
Absolutely. There's been a series of deliberation behind the scene. Then all of a sudden, there are raging tensions within the family, even when your dad is in the morgue. It begs the question that, I mean, were you so much in a hurry to see the old man, go away so that he can all of a sudden pounce on his properties or his wealth or things that he left behind? Because for me, it beats my imagination that, I mean, whilst you have your father in the morgue, whilst you've still not gone through the mourning process, you've not buried him, and all of a sudden people are so obsessed about who take over from him. I believe this is something that can be ironed out. This is something that can be settled within the family. I mean, I believe that a man of his caliber obviously will not have died without leaving a will. would not have died without leaving a certain legal document to suggest we eventually take over from him when he's no more, in terms of even property sharing and a couple of other things. But for me, what happened this weekend further deepened the cracks among the siblings, because prior to that, I mean, I remember I watched a video, a press conference that was addressed by Honorable Adwoa Safo when she was introducing her sibling. Conspicuously missing at that time was the brother who is purported to have instigated the firing of this, gun to her car, and which basically give a testimony to the fact that, in fact, the tension between the two siblings have actually heightened, and to the extent that when you do analysis relative to doing a studying of the car and where the parts of the car the bullet actually was fired, it tells you that it was a gunshot that was actually aiming, I mean, to eliminate her. I mean, people are even of the opinion that, I mean, she was actually sitting in front of the car. She was personally driving, and they had thought that she was at the back seat. That was why they fired at the back seat and stuff like that. But for me, what is very significant is what you highlighted. How did this private security, agencies, I mean, came into possession of this sophisticated weapon?
Pump action guns.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I saw. I mean, this security, private security personnel could match up to any of our security agency. And how did they get this? How were they able to be equipped with all this sophisticated weapon? This continues to give credence to the debate, the raging debate that has been going on about the proliferation of sophisticated guns within our society. And you see, once you have these guns within our society, what eventually happens is it creates what we call insecurity. Because you see, this private security, personnel, if they have to fire at the car of Madam Adwoa Safo, aiming to kill her, from my own perspective and from what I'm deducing, then the question is this: what were they told? What was the instruction that was given to them? What was the directive that was given to them? Because for me, it's actually a family issue. But I think that every conscionable person should not be so much obsessed about being interested in who takes over from my father relative to leadership when your dad is still in the morgue. You could have just taken advantage and try as much as possible to unite as a family. Once you are done with it, like I said, I believe that by now, the father have a lawyer, have a legal representative. I mean, who obviously is aware about what is captured in the dad's document. And I am also aware that once a prominent person dies, I mean, there's even a period that the man would have even indicated in his will that this is the time that my will should be read, right, to the hearing of these so individuals who are likely to be highlighted in the will. Yeah. So, I mean, reducing all these things to property grabbing, who is supposed to be in charge, and when you look at the pictures that I've seen on social media, and you look at where she got hurt, where she was injured, it tells you about the fact that, but for God's grace and intervention, we probably would have been referring to her as the late MD for the Mekwabinya constituency. And I don't think this augur well for the image and the reputation and the dignity and the huge personality of the late Apostle Kodjo Safo. They are church members who are basically looking up to the children to be able to take up the mantle and spearhead the legacy and the vision of the late Apostle Kodjo Safo. And I think one thing that is also coming up so clear is the fact that there's seemingly division between the church elders, right? And you look at, they are so divided to the extent that some of them belong to Adwoa Safo camp, others belong to the brothers camp. And I don't think that in any way or one way or the other you'll be able to help in salvaging the issue. It rather deepens it. I don't know whether they are doing that because of a parochial interest and what have you. But I think what is happening now, it's a criminal issue. It's no more about family issue, because an attempt on somebody's life is not a civil issue, it's a criminal issue. The police have issued a statement to that effect. People have been arrested. The evidence with respect to what happened is I watched on social media. I'm told the police in their statements that they are going to conduct a forensic, investigation. And once they are done with it, whoever is culpable or liable for the mishap that happened yesterday, she face the full rigor of the law, because it's to serve as a deterrent with the level of impunity where people think that they can take the law into their own hand and fire indiscriminately. Because I believe that where the incidents happen, even if you think that Honorable Adjasafo is basically invading in your private home or is trying to engage in trespasses, I mean, I'm told that the Domil, police station is basically not far from that. And with people, even if you are firing a warning shot into the atmosphere, even to scare or maybe to deter people from coming, I think the police would have been there to make sure that they bring some level of sanity. But to fire indiscriminately, it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. You realize that there's several bullets.
What number of bullet holes?
Absolutely, that was fired at it.
And then also at the glass.
I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's something that, I mean, help the image of the late Apostle Kodjo, which all of us grew up to know that he's one of the people that have do a lot of things for this country. He's one of the people that a lot of people look up to when it comes to even in terms of his company, Kantankaka, and a whole lot of things. So I think the police should do their job and make sure that nobody is left off the hook, and make sure that the perpetrators are brought to book.
I mean, you should be even more concerned, because Adjoa is also a very respected member of the party. Talk to me.
Yeah, Joshua, I mean, it's a big issue, but in all honesty, I mean, of course, now it has become a criminal issue because an attempt was made on her life, but I tend to believe that it's more of a family issue, than the public. Of course, she's a former MP, so that's, bring interest from the public as to, what is happening, around their life, and also the father is quite a father figure to all Ghanaians. I mean, the Christ Asafo Church has been in existence, for about 50 years or so, since the 70s, and they have quite a large, followers. And he's done quite good things to bring the image of Ghana, in terms of the international community, to uphold the image of Ghana in the eyes of the international community. He's done a lot of things, and I believe that there is a lot that we can get from him, even as he has passed. Because if you watch some of his shows, he documented a lot of things. A lot of things that he was doing are all documented. So as a country, we might be able to tap into some of his ideas, some of his engineering, geniuses, and then see what we can get out. But I think we should do that. But when it gets to this particular issue, as my brother was saying, I don't believe that there was no will, and I think the Honorable Adjasafo has indicated that indeed there was. And if you hear the story that has been told by the church members, including the one famous one, Osibo. I think we also, it's a narrative. And we've seen narrative of other people, we've spoken to other people, is that, yes, at some point in his life, a successor was appointed. And for whatever reason, he felt it shouldn't go that way. So he changed some of the, things he had put in place, which is well documented. So the idea from those that are telling the brother to hold on is that let's bury our father, and then we will get to the will. And whatever he said in the will be implemented. And I think that's what brought all this, to the fore. And as my brother was saying, it seems that the church itself is also divided. And a house that is divided is difficult to stand. Sure. And that is where the issue is. But again, it is a border. For me, the whole story is a family matter. And I don't want to, dwell on it so much. Yeah. But the criminal side, the security personnel, was it from a security company, or is it his own macho boys that he has gathered around him that guards him? Because it is not lawful for security people to carry guns. Yes, in Ghana you may carry gun when you have a license, but not as a security personnel. If you must carry a gun as a security personnel, per our laws, you need a separate license from the police to be able to do that. Do they have the license for all the weapons that were identified or that were confiscated. These are things that I hope that the police will let the public know more about it, and that is where I think the public interest might lie, not with who succeed, the apostle,
right,
or who becomes, who gets what property or who gets what. For me, that is less interesting for the public, but more the security issues. How was it possible for such people, private security, to have these weapons without, let me not say without, do they have the requisite licenses
to carry these weapons?
To carry these weapons. Because I believe, and from what I've read, I'm not a lawyer, but of course we read. From what I've read, for a security personnel to carry weapons, it's not mere like a license for a private individual, because they are using it to work. So they need a separate license from the police. Do they have that? That is what, I think the media, I keep saying the media because after I'm done, I'm gone.
Yeah.
You guys.
We would have to amplify it.
Follow up so that we can get some of these, details and all that. And like we are saying, and like we've all seen, this was not a warning shot. This was an attempt for his life.
Targeted shots.
This is a targeted shot.
From what you've seen on the vehicle.
Nobody can convince me that it was a warning shot. You don't shoot at a car when it's a warning shot. You shoot in the air. So this is not a warning shot. And I think this should be treated as such. Okay. And everybody, whether they receive instruction from the brother or some of the elders or whoever, I think the police must investigate and bring them to book. And we shouldn't entertain this. It should never happen in our society ever again. So I think I don't want to, like I said, it's a family matter. I don't want to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
But the security part is quite important. And it's something that we must address, properly. To bring some confidence in people. Because if you are living in that area, I think you must be scared by now.
Exactly.
If they have all these weapons in the area, what else can happen?
At one time.
Yeah.
All these weapons.
Yes. What else can happen? Because there's so tension, within the groupings. So what else can happen? And I'm told that the police have done well, to bring the tension down. And I commend them for that. And let's hope we bring it to a very good end.
Right.
And then I wish Honorable Ajasafo, my very good sister, all the best, and wish her a speedy recovery. Okay.
Well, so Kwame, I was sticking with your party, the NPP, because we've been joined on Zoom now by Arthur Kobna Kennedy. He's joining us all the way from the US. He's a founding member of the New Patriotic Party. And recent times, we've had cause to talk about Kennedy Ohinejapong and some commentary he's made. With regards the NPP, the affair in military hospital. Some say he shouldn't have said that. Others say, well, he's just hurt, he's bitter. Quite a lot of commentary surrounding the case he made. But then Arthur Kennedy is joining us for his thoughts on that matter as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you from here. I hope you're doing well.
Good morning to you and your viewers. I'm doing very well.
Great to have you. So, I'm sure you've also paid critical attention to what Kennedy Ohinejapong said in that interview. I've had cause to have engagements with people who said, well, maybe because he spoke Chi, he was taken out of context. Some say, well, that is Kennedy Japong. He's making those comments, and they believe strongly that they were in bad taste. It does not put good spotlight on the NPP. He's a leading member of the NPP. He should have known better. He shouldn't have made those comments. What are your thoughts?
I think that we've been struggling with whether the MPP and indeed political parties are public bodies or they are private bodies owned by some people. I think Kennedy Japong is a Ghanaian citizen. He is a patriot, and really, I listened to the tip of his original comments on the Afari Hospital, and then I also listened to his subsequent comments. I think that the reaction to his initial comments took him out of context, and I think maybe that might have been deliberate. He said that the MPP had 8 years to complete the Afari Hospital and did not complete it. And then somebody else comes for 14 months and you are attacking the person because he hasn't completed it. And then the MPP public poster was, Kennedy Japong is lying because he said we did nothing. Kennedy Japong didn't say the MPP did nothing. He said the MPP did not complete the hospital in 8 years, and he is correct. In actual fact, it is strange that we'll start 101 new hospitals while there was one that was partly completed, and we didn't find it necessary to complete it, particularly since that uncompleted hospital was in our World Bank, the Ashanti region. I think that the reaction to that would have been to eat some humble pie and admit that, yes, we should have completed it. And then that would have been the public poster. Then privately engage Mr. Japan. I think that the Bawumia leadership of the party is too concerned with public relations. I think that there are a lot of things being done to, in effect, convince the public that the party is united when it is not. I, for example, was invited. They pleaded with me to talk to the flag bearer. His wife reached out to me. He reached out to me. I adjusted my schedule to go and see him. And I was ready for a substantive discussion. But the discussion was mainly from my side. He didn't say much. And then within hours, the picture of our meeting had been made public, and the spin was that I had endorsed him. We never discussed an endorsement. So my respectful advice to the MPP is that we should be careful about these public posters and attacking Kennedy Japan. He should be removed from the party and all that. And I warn that this idea of removing people from the party, very soon the party will be reduced to a few polling stations in Chibi and Waliwali and Kumasi. That will not be good. I think that the MPP does not seem to understand where it is.
Right.
The truth of the matter is that there is significant disalienation with the MPP. And it is not me saying that 1.2 million members went to the polls and voted for President Mahama. 1.5 to 2 million people stayed at home for various reasons, including unhappiness with the government's performance, how Alan was treated, etc., etc. I think that the very difficult work needed to put the party back together has not been done, and people are just trying to run on history. But politics is not about history. It is about what you can do for me now and tomorrow.
Right. But what's that difficult work that needs to be done that you believe strongly is not being done, and the party is rather focusing on optics?
I think the first thing is an acknowledgement that the Nadal government was a bad government. They did a lot of bad things. You know, the Afari Hospital is a signal example of it, not completing things that should have been completed. Afari Hospital, Proof Room Market, I think there was a hospital in Labadi. There are a lot of, how do you start 101 hospital and not complete them? Significant corruption, arrogance on the part of officials, a national cathedral that consumed nearly 100 million of our resources, while our kids were schooling under trees and foundational problems remained unsolved. And I think that in most other politics, like in the United States, for example, looking at the Democratic Party, the first part will be an acknowledgement of the debacle that we faced in 2024 and those who caused it. You know, you cannot go back to the public with the same people who caused these problems, no apologies, nothing, and expect that the public would embrace them. That's not how politics works. And there are a lot of examples around. In the United States, when Jimmy Carter lost in 1980, the Democrats never thought of nominating him for office again. They never even invited him to the National Party conferences. If you look at Britain, after their smashing victory barely 2 years or so ago, Keir Starmer just resigned as Prime Minister because politics is about now and the future. And you cannot, in effect, do retreats. I think that Nanado was a very significant figure in the party, but the future must be crafted without him, at least publicly, because he has become toxic. The public associates him with our failures. And actually, there are a lot of MPP people behind the scenes who tell me the same thing about their dissatisfaction with his governance. We have significant members of his administration who have become fugitives. They can't come to Ghana because they are afraid of justice and their own shadows. You don't just recycle these same people and say, hey, by the way, we are waiting for 2028. And the Afari Hospital starkly illustrates the problems the MPP has when you go and accuse the NDC of doing things, not doing things in 15 months that you failed to do in 8 years.
Right.
You sound hypocritical.
But haven't you noticed that change in terms of a shift from Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? You keep talking about the fact that he's still been associated with the leadership. But as it stands now, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is leading the party. The party is yet to even elect its leadership in terms of national officers and the likes. Where is the Nana Addo factor?
Well, the Nana Addo factor is that, as Dr. Bawumia himself put it vividly, is the car driving in the same direction and we just want to change the driver. The problem is that you just don't want to change the driver, particularly when the driver has been the mate who has been giving the driver signals about turn right, turn left. It means that that new driver is part of the old crew that was operating the vehicle, and it will drive in the same direction. For the MPP to be successful, this vehicle needs to drive in a different direction. And for national purposes, I don't know that the leadership knows that. The 1.2 million people who voted for President Mahama and the 1.5 who didn't vote, the people who some people say have resigned in their hearts, they are not now irrevocably committed to the MPP. They're going to look at their options.
Right.
And the Ghanaian electorate has been very good in the Third Republic. They are not automatically going to come back to the MPP. They are looking around whether there might be a new alliance of political parties, whether the MPP will become reformed and really the party that it used to be so they can come back to it, or whether they might move more closer to the NDC. And the MPP is caught in danger when it ignores these signals and the need to address these significant factors.
But Arthur Kennedy, as it stands now, the die is cast when it comes to who gets to represent the NPP in the 2028 general elections. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, elected by the party, chosen by the party to be their leader. What needs to change going forward? Because we cannot change Dr. Bawumia as flag bearer.
Well, I respectfully disagree. As you can see, even certain prime ministers can be changed, as Keir Starmer is being changed today. So the fact that your allies hastily put together a Congress and then gave you a nomination, that can be contested. And the Frempong Boateng Yahotamaklo case that is now in court. For example, if part of their consequential declarations is that our political parties have not been operating democratically and that members should have a chance to vote in primaries, one would question whether the significance and implications of those consequential declarations would address directly the legitimacy of the MPP primary. And if you can think about it, the Nigerians are voting in January of 2027. They just pick their candidates. It means that we picked our candidate for 2028 6 months ahead of any Nigerian party when they are voting 18 months earlier. So I don't think that that is irrevocable. Of course, the other thing is also that steps might be taken to, in effect, assuage the disalienated. I think that there is significant alienation, and of course, if the MPP insists that it has its leadership and come hell or high water, that's what it's going to do. Of course, as Nana Addo famously advised voters, your vote belongs to you and you can do with it whatever you want. So people might decide to do with their votes support for non-MPP parties.
Right.
So the public cannot be taken for granted.
Very well. So I've also seen your write-up briefly on insecurity in our educational institutions. We've seen what happened in the UCC. Even in secondary school, students are somehow, unfortunately, committing suicide, among others, allegedly. What are the concerns there?
Concerns there are that, frankly, having lived here for some time and having schooled at Legon, I'm kind of a little surprised at the fact that security concerns are not taken seriously by university authorities. It is not just this UCC case. There has been cases recently at NUST and a few years ago at Legon. There was a clash between vandals and members of Sabah Hall. And when those of us who are old vandals tried to look into it, we found out, for example, that the university authorities had at least 24 hours notice that there was going to be a clash. They didn't seem to have put in place any security measures. The clash took place, vehicles were damaged, and the next day they were handing out suspensions of student leaders and hall authorities without in a due process. One would think that if the university authorities knew of this in advance and they did nothing, some of the accountability should fall on the university authorities, like the vice chancellor and pro-VC and others. Nothing like that was done. So, but I think that we live in the past, and not only that, the Commonwealth situation, we found out there were people who were not students who had been living on campus sometimes for years. It kind of begs the question of security. My two kids have both finished university. When you go to tour these schools, whether it be Harvard or Yale or local state schools or others, they tell you about security. They talk about cameras. They talk about access to the campus. They talk about patrols. They talk about lighting, because everybody knows that once you deliver your award there, the university is responsible for that person's security. It doesn't appear as if that's what we do here. Right. And the university authorities ought to be able to address this. As for the young high school students and their problems, I think that this is something that secondary school authorities and patient-teacher associations should be able to address. I was scandalized that people could drive onto campus and give their young children gifts of cars and other things. It means that both the parents and the schools have a lot of moral lapses that they need to remedy. Right. I think that when I was in school, like I added in the article, the people in my classes who were rich, we knew them because they shared the goodies that their parents gave them. There was no ostentation. The school authorities wouldn't permit that. And the purpose of being in these secondary schools, whether day or boarding, is to foster egalitarianism, make friendships, and we should not make poor kids feel bad. Like me, for example, if that were done when I was in high school, I would have felt very bad. So I think that school authorities need to address this.
Okay. Well, Arthur Kwabena Kennedy, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time, and keep well in the USA. That's Arthur Kennedy also joining us via Zoom with his thoughts. And I'm coming back to my panelists. Briefly, we're going to talk about the MPP, and that will be our final topic of discussion for this morning. Also, on the back of what Arthur Kennedy has said. I mean, those are his thoughts. Delali, so the New Patriotic Party, Kennedy Japan, now you've heard from Arthur Kennedy and his thoughts as well.
First of all, the question is this: what actually brought about all this response to Honorable Kennedy Japan, subsequent article authored by Dr. Arthur Kennedy, and the eventual interview that he has granted this morning? Yeah. He's a medical doctor. Whilst we were interviewing him, he actually referenced the fact that it has to do with the Afari Hospital. And Honorable Kennedy Japan made a statement to the effect that he thinks that the MPP were not truthful. And he's been very, very economical with the truth when it comes to their lamentation about the non-completion of the Afari Hospital project. And he made a statement to the effect that the MPP had 8 years to rule this country. The Afari Hospital is situated in Ashanti region, which every politician, political pundit, even those who are politically uninitiated, knows that happens to be the stronghold of the MPP. And he said, you failed to operationalize that hospital when you were in power for 8 years. So it sounds very hypocritical, double standard, full of duplicity, for you to have make a claim that in fact the NDC being in power for 15 years have not been able to, 15 months have not been able to operationalize it. And I want to give you a certain chronology relative to the Afari Hospital, relative to the Agenda 88, which metamorphosed to become Agenda 111. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when Ghana, as part of Ghana was hit with COVID, which became a global pandemic, on his 8th address to the states, which was famously nicknamed by fellow Ghanaians, on the 26th of April 2020, told the good people of this country that after months of the COVID, or having been hit by COVID, it has become imperative for Ghana to embark on a massive health infrastructure project. And he told the good people of this country that, in fact, his government is going to construct 88 hospitals all over the country. Fast forward, and he said this 88 hospital will be completed by the end of the year. Fast forward to the 1st of August 2020. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, together, right, with his appointees, went to Trede in the Ashanti region. And this time around, he actually cut a salt for the construction of 111 hospital. And he said they are going to add 6 of the new regions that were created, and they are going to construct a specialized hospital, one in the northern and middle belt, making it Agenda 111. And he told us that he's going to complete it. This is what he said on the 17th of August 2021. President Nana Addo Dankwa, that is after he had made a certain statement to the effect that they are going to complete it in 1 year. 4 years to the completion, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo came back to us. On the 17th of August 2021, he told us that this Agenda 111 will be completed in 18 months. So when you do the tabulation or you do the calculation, 18 months after that pronouncement in 21st of August 2021 will be February 2023. Once again, when the deadline was imminent, was getting closer, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo once again announced to the country that he will be able to complete this, hospital by the end of his tenure, that by the end of January 2025. And you see, it's only appropriate for the NPP, together with its communicators, and even the flag bearer of the NPP, the ranking member when it comes to health, some of the MPs coming from the Asante region, to demonstrate a certain level of truthfulness and honesty to the good people of this country.
Right.
Because you see, all the chronology that I have given to you tells you about the fact that Agenda 88, which metamorphoses Agenda 111, which were given separate 3 deadlines, failed to materialize. When the NPP were leaving power, according to the man who was the sector minister, Dr. Kodjo, he said they have completed 70% of the Agenda 111, hospital. In specific reference to Trede.
Right.
Kokobin.
So make a point for me because we're running out of time. I need
so
to
you see, what basically Kenya Japan is saying is this. Yes, I belong to the NPP. There's no doubt about it. But you see, we have no moral right to criticize a regime that has been in power for 15 months of what we failed to achieve for 8 solid years. That is what have warranted the attack from the NPP communicators, some of the NPP ranking member on Kennedy Japan.
Right.
It's not everything Honorable Kennedy Japan says that I agree with him. But in this particular context, in this particular Agenda 111, relative to the Afari Hospital, let's admit it, the NPP have no any moral right, any moral authority to criticize President Mahama of 15 months in being in power, of not being able to operationalize a hospital when you had 8 years to operationalize the same hospital. That is what basically Kennedy Japan is saying.
Right. Kwame.
Joshua, I listened to my elder, very, very carefully, and we in the MPP at the moment, right? We are focusing on restructuring, and bringing the party together pursue the 2028 elections. We are doing a lot of restructuring, a lot of internal activity that is ongoing, and we are focused on that, right? And if I listen to my elder, here, I think the little I would say is that he's not ready to contribute his quota to the restructuring that we are doing, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go in to make it any controversy and all that. I think he's not ready to contribute, and I think we can move on, from there. Now let's go to the substantive matter. Right, we are talking about, where did all these things come about? It started with the Confanoche, issue when they issue a directive that they are not receiving any patients anymore. Yeah. That is where it started. And then the AFARI discussion came in that if you have a hospital that is not too far from Kumasi, why has it that not be completed? And then we started looking into the issues. Now, I think we are looking at AFARI in isolation, which is unfair to Nana Akufo-Addo, right? Yes, there were deadlines that were set that were not met, right? Everybody has admitted that. Yeah. But there were also a lot of things that were done with relation to health in Ashanti region, right? There were hospitals that have been there for over 40 years that were completed in Bekwai. Tepa Hospital was completed and now functioning. Kumau is completed and now functioning. Sewa is completed. So there were several hospitals in the Ashanti region that were completed during our time and that are in use at the moment. So to single out one hospital and say you didn't complete this or you didn't do anything, I think that is not a fair commentary when we are discussing the achievement of the MPP in Ashanti region. Yes, there are other things that we were not able to complete. He mentioned the market at Growth. It has its peculiar issues, why it was not completed. And some other time we can go into that as well. We started other projects. If you look at the port, the inland port, we're not even to complete, but it has been started. But when we are talking about health, there were a lot of achievements within the health sector in Ashanti region that we completed. If nothing at all, we put them 47 ambulances, unprecedented in the history of Ghana at a go for the Ashanti region, right? 6 of them in total that we completed. We initiated others that we were not able to complete, right? That governance is a continuum, right? Now let's get to this AFARI hospital in particular. The AFARI hospital is part of the Irrigate project. Irrigate project was initiated by Akufo in 2008. So in the whole 8 years of NDC, they didn't complete a single one. There were 9 in total. When they were leaving power in 2016, they left the AFARI hospital at 40%. Right? They left the WA hospital at 63%. They left all the hospitals at a certain stage of completion. When when NPP came to power, NPP did not say because you didn't complete it, so we will also not complete it. We proceeded and completed 7 out of the 9 hospitals of the Irrigate project, leaving the AFARI, which is 98%, complete, and one other which is 63%, complete. So it is not accurate and basically unfair to claim that the NPP did nothing when it comes to the health, sector.
But isn't the claim specifically towards AFARI that you did not do anything? You could have completed AFARI if you had the political will to do so.
No, like I said, there were other projects that we were working on simultaneously, and many of them were completed.
Right.
Many of them. And when we are talking about Ashanti region, from 2009, as we speak now, NDC has not completed any hospital in Ashanti region. None. Not a single one. Not a single one. And here you are, me telling you, we've completed 6. And we've initiated many that are now ongoing. Now let's talk about the AFARI hospital. Like I said, we inherited it at 40% completion rate. And we brought it to about 97, 98%. And it's not something that the NPP is saying, no. It's something that their minister, the NDC minister at the moment, said in his budget that is the briefing he received from the military leadership. So it's not something that the NPP concocted or we just created it out of vacuum. These are verifiable facts that are there. These are facts that the Honorable Minister presented to Parliament. So what are we talking about saying MPP did nothing?
Well, they say you don't have the moral right to complain about operationalizing Afari. You could have done that.
Like I said, we brought it from 40.
And they are just 15 months in office. 16 months, you cannot demand that.
We brought it from 40 to... And you see, what are we doing it for? Are we doing it for MPP? We are doing it for the good people of Ghana. Right? And if nothing at all, let's just agree, MPP did nothing. But that is why they were voted out of power.
Okay.
That is why we are not in power. Right. So if you have come, and it's not 15 months, we are now 18 months away. 3 additional months. If we are 18 months away, and you have not done a single thing about something that was more than 90% complete, then questions should be asked.
Okay.
At least, when we go there, let us see activities that are ongoing. That's, oh, you couldn't complete it, but we came 18 months, we are on it, and we are working, and we are doing this. Right. Nothing.
Okay.
So there is no commitment from the NDC to complete this project, especially within the Asante region.
Okay.
And these are the verifiable facts. Now, let me also touch on one more thing.
Briefly, because you're out of time.
Very briefly. Right. I live in Adenta.
Okay.
Right. In Adenta, when you are moving from the filling station towards Housing Down, there is a car station, the lorry station there, taxi rank. Now, everything has been broken down. And when you go there, you see this site has been prepared for what has been termed as a 24-hour market. Now, when you drive further the same road, less than 3 kilometers away, there is the Adenta market. When you go into the Adenta market, there are 2 structures, big structures that are there. One for proper markets, one for stores. There's a hospital there. There is a police post there. There is a fire service there. So everything that they are talking about in the 24-hour economy is there. Now guess what? That particular edifice is 50% occupied. So what is the sense and the need of wasting money to build another hospital where we can use that, we are talking about health, to complete the Agenda 111.
So budget for the markets can be used for hospital. Because you have introduced this, I have to give the Lally.
Yes, of course.
Briefly.
You see, the point is this. I listened to one of their MPs. He said all the amount of money they needed to complete Afari was $500,000. And ridiculously, the MP was telling us that all they needed to complete Afari, to make it operationalized, was $500,000, and yet MPP could not cough up $500,000. No. You see, $500,000. MPP could not cough up $500,000 to operationalize Afari Hospital. You see, I want my colleague from the MPP to understand one thing. You see, the days where MPP basically try to hoodwink Ghanaians and make it look like they are more nationalistic than other major political parties, these days are past and gone. And I always encourage and crave the indulgence of Ghanaians watching me this morning. Take your time. There's a book authored by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, The Dark Days in Ghana Politics. You appreciate the DNA of the MPP. You wouldn't be surprised about what they are currently doing. But unfortunately for the MPP, in this current dispensation, whatever you see, you have said in the past, people can make reference to it by a click of a button. What is more important is the NDC have launched what we call a flagship policy called the 24-hour market. There's a reason why that market is named 24 hours. We have started all over the country. Every district or constituency in this country is going to have a unique market called 24-hour market.
But he's talking about proximity to another market.
No, you see.
Briefly on this.
Because that particular market we are talking about 24. You see, that market we are talking about, it comes with certain unique features, which is not something you see relative to the current market that we are currently seeing. Do you understand? What is more important? When we are done, will you appreciate the importance of the 24-hour market what we are talking about?
So they should give you time.
Absolutely. But what is more important is this. The MPP must come to appreciate one thing. Ghanaians gave you 8 years. You were given that mandate. You made promises. You gave 3 separate deadlines. You failed to deliver on time. You have come back telling the good people of this country that the NDC within 18 months, as you alluded to, should operationalize a market, a hospital that you failed to what we call operationalize in 8 years. And when Honorable Kenny Japan was talking about, I listened to the sector minister, Dr. Opobo. He said when you guys were exiting power, it was 75% complete. See, I have a letter here that was addressed to the then health advisor to the president, Dr. Nsiansari, by multimedia, written on the 11th of February, 2023, right, demanding full details about the Afari hospital. Okay. The sector minister responded and said, we have no any details to prefer or to offer to you when it comes to the Afari hospital. Okay. So you see, the evidence abound that indeed your commitment when it comes to operationalization of the Afari hospital was not there.
Well, Delali, thank you.
In Parliament,
Delali, he's head of corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and Kwame Prempeh is seeking the mandate of the New Patriotic Party. Corporate communications, okay. And Kwame Prempeh is seeking the mandate of the New Patriotic Party to be their national organizer. He is a former deputy CEO for the PPA. Kwame, Delali, thank you so much for coming. Hopefully we get further conversations ongoing in subsequent days as well. This is still G Today here on GH1 Television. We'll take a break here. When we return, we'll have more interviews for you. right, thank you so much for staying on with us. This is still Jay today here on GH1 Television, and it's time to talk health. And today we are focusing on sickle cell. I'm sure you've also heard of it, you've been seeing, and I think in recent times we're seeing quite a lot of conversations surrounding genes. We are advising people to get to know their genotype and all of that, and so this conversation is coming at a really opportune time for us to get to know more about the organization, what they're doing as well, and the education bit of it. So this morning I have in studio Victoria Awochumesi. She's Executive Director, Ghana Foundation for Sickle Gene Action. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing very well.
I am. Thank you very much.
So talk to me. How did it all start for you?
Well, having family members who have sickle cell disease and also the sickle cell trait, that is what led me to this journey of wanting to give back to the community. Thankfully for me, I had lived in the US before returning to Ghana. So when I came and found that in Ghana, while we were quite established in terms of sickle cell, education and treatment, it was at the onset of it. So there wasn't much, I would say, education in some of the remote areas. So I got connected to the late Professor Kodjo Frimpong, who is the former president for the Sickle Cell Foundation of Ghana. And he mentored me into becoming an advocate for people with sickle cell. And since then, I haven't looked back.
Wow. I like the fact that it comes from a very intimate place for you.
Yes.
And that's why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. But when you look at sickle cell, like I said earlier, we are seeing quite some advocacy. Yeah. And now people are being cautious. People are getting to know. Yeah. They're becoming aware. But then when we talk about the sickle cell situation in Ghana, where are we? How are we doing?
For a disease that affects close to 30% of the population in Ghana, we're doing some work, but not enough. Not enough in the sense that if you take, 1 in every 4 Ghanaians who may either have sickle cell or have the trait, then that means we need to do more when it comes to education.
Right.
So educating ourselves, our communities, our children, our institutions, and also empowering our healthcare providers to understand the illness so that they can help people who are suffering from it, so they can have better quality of life. So we have a lot of things that we need to do, and it begins from newborn screening, starting off when the child is born, to be able to screen them. So incorporating that into our healthcare system. We had established a policy around it, but it hasn't scaled up. It's been 30 years, and we need to scale it up to all 16 regions of the country. Not just that, there are standardized guidelines for treatment established by WHO, but also SPARKLE. Those have been in existence for decades. Again, we haven't scaled those up. And not just that, within our healthcare institutions, our nurses, our doctors, they are the second point of care. The caregiver is the first point of care because you are dealing with the illness at home, and then you make that decision to take the person to the hospital for care. But when you get to the hospitals, we are still facing issues where healthcare givers don't necessarily understand the magnitude of the illness, the severity of it, and so when it comes to timeliness in delivering care and treatment, there's a delay. And with sickle cell disease, any minor delay can be detrimental to the person. A simple thing as a toothache can cause severe, catastrophic consequences for a person with sickle cell disease. So that is how critical and crucial it is for us to understand the illness, not just as caregivers, but also as healthcare providers and the community at large. This also extends into our educational systems, right? Teachers, they're dealing with our children who have sickle cell disease. If they don't understand the illness, they cannot support our wards who have sickle cell disease. Not just that, our religious bodies, our churches, our mosques, they are dealing with, people who are looking to get married. Genetic counseling is huge. has to be enforced so that people understand what they are getting into. But, in all, one thing that we have to take charge of and do as a country is to ensure that we're starting the advocacy and the education early on in life, so that by the time you get to adulthood and you're looking for a partner, you already know your genotype, you already know who you're compatible with, and that helps you make informed decisions about how you want your life to go from that point on. Because if I know my genotype and I know that I have a sickle cell trait, an S gene, or any of the other abnormal genes, and I come into contact with somebody who also has a sickle cell trait, there is a high chance that we will have a child with sickle cell disease. Right. So knowing that, you have to make a different decision.
And for people who say that, you see, matters of the heart have no respect or regard for any other thing.
Right.
How do you now overcome that? Because that becomes a huge barrier.
It does. But one thing about genetic counseling is that you are educated about what your options are. Thankfully, with advanced treatment and research, there are options too that people can elect if they want to have children. There's the IVF. There's gene electing of genes, so you can actually, if you have the money and you can afford it, they can actually pick the right gene, the normal gene, and then match that to the other person's normal gene, so that you produce an offspring who does not have the sickle cell trait. But you need to have money to do that, and with our population, not everybody has the means to be able to do that, but it's available.
And from your initial comments, it's clearly evident that it affects every part of our society, and because of that, every aspect of our society, from education to religion to social, we all need to come together to be able to manage the situation. Yes. But what has your organization been doing, and how long have you been doing this?
Wow. So Sickle Gene Action, my advocacy has been for almost 2 decades now. But Sickle Gene Action itself, we've been in existence for close to 5 years. And for us, what we do is to conduct annual screenings at the basic school level. So we do the screenings. When we detect that any children has sickle cell disease, we connect them to healthcare providers. But when we're doing the screening, we also do education and training for this, and we do it within the school settings. We partner with the local health directorate and the education director. So they are all part of this. It's a partnership. And we found that this approach works great because the health directorate and the education director are able to come together, partner with us. We train a personnel within that support system. And so if we find that a child has sickle cell disease and we're able to connect them to the health system within their locality, we follow that child, but we do that in partnership with the health director and the education director within that locality, so that the child is able to get the optimal care they need. We also know that sometimes it's difficult for people to get an initial start or jump start when it comes to getting connected to the healthcare system. Yeah. And so we also help them by enrolling them onto the NHIS so that they can have access to treatment right away. One of the beautiful things about us in Ghana right now is that there's a revolutionary medication for sickle cell treatment called hydroxyurea, which is currently on NHIS. Sometimes accessibility is a problem, but it's there. So being on NHIS is crucial to be able to access that medication. NHIS also covers some treatments related to sickle cell disease, the full blood count, folic acid and other things. However, the tariffs and quota is so low that it gets exhausted within a short period of time. And so sometimes you would have the insurance, but then the facility would tell you they don't cover it, not because it's not covered by NHIS. It is because it's been exhausted. The funds allotted for that has been exhausted. So we need to do more. Seeing that it affects 30% of our population, we need to do more in scaling up resources for sickle cell disease.
Very important that we need to scale up. But then this one, I wanted to talk to 2 groups of people. One, those who have sickle cell or have relatives who are sickle cell, and so they have to deal with the issues, the complications and all of that. And those who are yet to get married, yet to make babies, and so they're going to make that crucial choice. I want you to speak to them this morning.
So if you have sickle cell disease, know that you're not alone. We're here to support you. All of the NGOs within the sickle cell community, thankfully, have recently come together to form an alliance. And that is to give us one strong voice voice to be able to advocate and be more effective in our advocacy. So we're here for you. If you need any assistance when it comes to getting connected to resources, mental health care, providers, medication, where to access them and all of that, reach out to us and we can assist you or get you connected to that. And for those who are getting married, well, congratulations in advance. It's great. But know your genotype, know your partners, especially the guys don't like getting tested.
No, we don't.
You don't. and oftentimes it's a problem because eventually when the child comes, then the guy, blames the woman and says it's from your family. But sickle cell is inherited from both parents, not just one parent. So the genes are inherited from both parents. So both of you come together to produce that child. So know your genotype. Both of you need to know your genotype so that you know what you're getting into and you know what your options are. Kolebu has an obstetrician department, and they're fantastic in terms of helping, expectant mothers who have sickle cell disease or would have children with sickle cell disease and how to manage that, as well as other institutions within the country. There are some very fantastic healthcare providers who are doing a great job when it comes to that.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much for coming. And
Thank
June
you.
19th was when we had World Sickle Cell Day. So clearly the world is aligned to throw more light on it, and please get connected. But how do people get to connect
Sickle
with you?
Gene Action? Yes. People can call me directly. My number is already out there. So it's 055-228-8935. 055-228-8935. And we're online, Sickle Gene Action Ghana. Right. We're on our website, and there's also on Instagram, Sickle Gene Action Ghana.
Very well. Victoria, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
That's
me.
Victoria Awochumesi, Executive Director for Sickle's Gene Action Ghana, helping us with that conversation on sickle cell. Very important. Know your genotype. And for my gentlemen, please, go and know. You don't like tests. Let's do that. Well, it's a beautiful Monday morning. Some people celebrating their birthday, so let's make it a lot special for them. This one says, happy birthday to one of the sweetest souls I know. May your age be as beautiful, fun, and full of love. And it's from Benjamin to Presla. Happy birthday to you, Presla. I might be a little bit late, but wishing you a fantastic belated birthday, Grace Ayangma. I hope your special day was wonderful, and I wish you continued success this year. And this is coming from Sammy to you. Happy birthday, Jacqueline. May your happiness today be as big as your dreams and your cake be as sweet as your heart. Wishing you a year full of laughter, love, success, and God's abundant blessings. Enjoy your day, superstar. And it's from Kwame Dako to you. And of course, this one is from me, it's from my wife, it's from all of us to Grandma Emilia Akbalu, Grandma Ninja, retired senior midwife at Ridge Hospital. God bless you so much for all you do for your daughters and granddaughters. You will certainly enjoy the fruits of your labor. So happy birthday to you, Ninja. God bless you, God keep you, and cause his face to shine upon you. Happy 80th birthday, dearest dad, Mr. Joseph Akwesi Hagen. May the Lord continue to bless you with strength, joy, and peace. We honor you today and always, thanking God for the gift of your life, and it's from your wife, children, and your grandchildren to you. So if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. Wish you all of God's blessings. Enjoy your day. Have a super fantastic birthday. But let's go on to our next conversation. I've been joined by some wonderful ladies. We are here to talk about something very, very important. And let me quickly introduce them. I have Pearl Donkomati, Charity Manager, Guba Foundation, and Sefa Fordie, I hope I got it right, or Fordie? Sena, okay. Sena, Clinical Director, Sena Pediatric Therapy Center and Foundation. Mirabel JC is PRO for Occupational Therapy Association of Ghana. Dr. Chantel Altidal, Occupational Therapist, co-founder of Black in Rehab. And Nancy Yamwa, Occupational Therapist and also co-founder for Black in Rehab. So let me start with you, Sena. I hope you're doing very well.
I'm doing excellent.
Fantastic. So what brings you to my studio this morning, Sena?
So today we are here to talk about that is happening tomorrow at the West African.
Right.
And the general public, we want to educate autism is on how to as they grow.
Fantastic. And so it's an awareness workshop. And recently I was engaged in an activity that had to do with autism. And so I would love to get to appreciate exactly how this is going to go. This engagement workshop will go. And then how crucial as well. So let me come to you. Do you have a microphone yet? All right. So yeah, so we'll get to that shortly for you. And it's very important that we touch base on this because listen, sometimes you get to see the challenges that parents with autistic children go through, and you wonder, they need to be superhumans to be able to deal with such instances. And so why is it important for us to have this workshop?
It's really important. So this workshop is really going to give them the skills they need at home without necessarily going to a therapist if they don't have the money to be able to do it. They can have the skills at home.
Mina All-in-One Nutrimix is truly milky and contains calcium.